So here's the thing about Bojack's professional relationships from Bojack Horseman. They have a tendency of not working out, and there's always a similar pattern that can be viewed whenever Bojack takes on a new project and has to deal with an authority figure. Specifically, the journey taken with Herb, Kelsey, and Flip McVicker mirror each other in an extremely alarming way. If you'll notice, I don't include Princess Carolyn, Diane, Gina, etc., because that's a different pattern and a whole separate conversation. By the way, I would also like to thank @SadnessForBreakfast for recommending this video be made. Amazing username, by the way. So to start off, Bojack and Herb was our first introduction into Bojack's professional relationships, and they began as friends, realizing their dreams together. When they started out, Herb felt he was a veteran and guided Bojack through the stand-up world. Bojack looked up to Herb and sought his approval for a really long time. And I don't think that stopped when Horsing Around started either. The most tragic part is, Herb brought Bojack up with him, and pretty much got his whole career started in the first place. They were able to make their dream sitcom where they'd get rich, which was their only concern at the time, and they had fun doing it, as we saw when they first finished filming the pilot.
Thank you very much.
Wow!
Great pilot.
This was so fun! Do we get to make more?
I think we got a real shot. We could be on the air for many years.
Wow.
Or when you see Bojack audition.
Orphans, huh? What am I supposed to feed you?
All right, stop. You're nervous. Forget the script.
Okay.
We're going to do that movie that you're always making me watch. You know, you have to answer for the chimpanzee, Tino.
That moment is so sweet between them. You can truly see their bond and chemistry in that audition scene. But you can also see that Herb's praise means a ton to Bojack. He is the authority figure of his life right now, and what he says about Bojack as a person defines his entire self-worth. Plus, Herb gives him advice on his acting, as we saw in Brand New Couch, supporting him in his new role. And Bojack always looks for that advice from whatever authority figure is around, and doesn't stop after Herb either. And then, time passes, and Bojack gets comfortable in his role on Horsing Around, and eventually dissatisfied. Bojack doesn't feel complete anymore. As with many of the other projects he filled his life with, he thought this would fulfill him, but it just doesn't. So he becomes cold, cruel, disheartened, especially since everything is given to him on a platter now that he's a star. And his relationship with Herb, as a result, sours. They grow further apart, and he grows not to care about him anymore. Ultimately, their professional relationship puts a strain on their personal one. Bojack becomes a bit of a diva, demanding storylines and rewrites and pitching racist jokes. And Herb, well, there's not really much evidence of Herb being a jackass, quite honestly. I think he just grew tired of Bojack's behavior and became shorter and shorter with him over time. So that when eventually Herb is in trouble with the media and Bojack's agent asks him to keep out of the tabloids, Bojack decides not to back Herb up. And Herb gets fired from his own project. Bojack's own greed and need for attention and praise led him to make this decision, as much as Bojack might want to blame Angela later on. If he'd had stuck by Herb, they might have made it through. And Herb never really did anything to Bojack except start his career. Bojack simply grew tired of seeking Herb's approval and had to find a surrogate authority figure in somebody else. I am glad, of course, that Herb was able to do meaningful things with his life and end up fulfilled in the end, even if Hollywood casted him aside. And when they connect again later in life, they get into a fight, because Herb hopes to see Bojack in a different place, but at the end of the day, still sees him going around seeking attention and approval from everyone. Like when he apologizes to Herb, hoping that he'll forgive him. Plus, he's still that coward that gave him up. Bojack didn't even have the stones to call him for 20 years after that betrayal, and even though Herb wants things to be on good terms with him, he can't forgive him for that. And they were close friends. Best friends. I can so understand why Herb would be so hurt from that behavior. Bojack's next professional relationship in the spotlight is Kelsey Jennings, which is definitely quite different, as she never gets particularly close to Bojack as Herb does, but still assumes the same role he does during Secretariat's filming, and a little bit afterwards. In fact, her being withholding only made Bojack seek her attention more, because it's more like his own mom. We see in Chickens how obsessed Bojack is with having authority figures like him, likely due to a strained relationship with his parents, the authority figures from his formative years. I mean, this is not even analysis on my part. Bojack literally spells this out for us in that episode. I'm not a genius for picking this up.
I don't need you to like me. It would be fun if you liked me, because then I could prove to myself that my parents were wrong to never support me, because I now earn the admiration of a surrogate authority figure, thus proving I have intrinsic worth, but it's not like it's a big deal or anything. Jeez.
Great story, Bojack. You should put that in a podcast so I can unsubscribe.
But after he's able to earn Kelsey's respect, he begins to look for more again. It's not enough to just have her directing it. Although, at the beginning, while he fully believed in her, after he's earned her respect, he looks for the next thing. Even though the studio tells Bojack there's nothing he can do about the cut Nixon scene, and Kelsey tells him the same, he needs to create a harebrained scheme to be able to get the shot they need to finish it. And he convinces Kelsey to go along with him. She is an adult and can make her own decisions. But she had decided to go listen to Turtletop until Bojack came to her with this idea, not really thinking about how it could affect Kelsey. Once again, Bojack is the star. They can't really fire him. Well, they can make the movie without him, but they didn't really want to. They would try whatever possible to keep Bojack around. Kelsey, the indie director that they're giving a huge chance with this blockbuster, she is absolutely expendable, and I'm sure she knew that, but Bojack didn't really think about it before pressuring her to go along with a scheme that would make him look better. He only thought about his own self-image and how the butchered scene that replaces the Nixon one would affect him and how he's portrayed. For himself, this is his big break that's going to prove to everyone in the world that he is a real actor who is worth something. Mainly, he's trying to prove that to his parents. He didn't really want any part of that softened by the film maybe being a little bit more cushy rather than real as he intended. And you know what? For what it's worth, I don't really blame Bojack for Kelsey being fired. It is a direct result of his actions, but it's not exactly his fault. But, that being said, there is an undeniable pattern of Bojack prioritizing his own career and image over his colleagues, and choosing to do the selfish thing rather than listen to his boss and keep the show going like it's supposed to. And while he was trying to do something genuinely meaningful with this one shot, it still points to the fact that he barrels forward without thinking about the repercussions to his coworkers, bosses, or friends. And when they connect again later in the show, they fight, just like him and her, because Kelsey again wants to believe that Bojack is the serious actor that he convinced her he was on the set of Secretariat, the one who wanted to make a difference and create something real. But instead, she still sees the same Bojack that only looks out for himself, trying to do all of the gigs offered to him at once and not being able to take a risk on Kelsey like she thought he would, even though her film wouldn't have made him as much money. Again, he acts like the coward who wants everyone to like him. He can't say no to Ethan. He wants to do a huge trilogy for the attention, and he wants to do the small indie movie, not really thinking about the fact that there are real people involved in these projects besides him. And his indecision cost Kelsey the entire movie. It's honestly so frustrating. PC often gets blamed for this too, when he and Anna were literally forcing her to just make everything work magically. Dude, you can't accept everything, you have to make a decision. Fun fact, too, this is the last time that Kelsey ever speaks to Bojack. We see her succeed in the end, which is great. I love that most of these professional enemies of Bojack's are still able to find their way and fulfillment, but still, this relationship was never repaired. And Bojack never really even apologizes to her for what he did. There's the missed connection and fish out of water, but after that he just doesn't try again. And listen, that episode is great, but I've always found it so stupid that it treats him losing the opportunity to give Kelsey the note like it's the last time he gets to talk to her. He has a cell phone, he could just pick up and call. But that's exactly part of the pattern. He doesn't think to call these people he's screwed over. He doesn't even really think about them at all until it relates to how he feels about himself. And him never making amends with Kelsey is proof of that. And that leads us to Flip McVicker. Now, out of the three, he is by far the worst person, so again, I can't really blame Bojack for the friction between them, but there's still a part of the pattern to look at here. We start season 5 with Bojack already dissatisfied with his role on Filbert, because he never really wanted it in the first place. He's convinced, though, that Flip is writing this show to punish him, and that Filbert is an accusation against him and his character. To be fair, the set is exactly the same as his house. It's uncanny, but Flip did not know that. And while not as obvious, he is still seeking attention and approval from Flip. Gina knows to just do her job and stay out of the way from the showrunner, as getting involved really only serves to escalate the situation. Also that nothing is personal, and she's simply an actress collecting a paycheck. However, Bojack needs Flip to respect him and take him seriously because he is the current surrogate authority figure in his life. That's why everything is so personal with him. Bojack is self-involved. I mean, that's not news. He thinks most of what Flip writes is a coded message about who he is as a person, and makes it his mission to change his mind, even though Flip sucks. I cannot overstate how much I despise this character, and Bojack has no reason to be seeking his attention and approval other than the fact that he has power over him in that moment. And He repeats the pattern of nearly dooming the project by indulging in his own selfish patterns and destructive behavior. Now, he is not the direct reason the show ends, Henry Fondle is. But personally, I don't think the show was going to make it either way. Bojack wasn't comfortable not accepting responsibility, for once, and Gina just wasn't comfortable around Bojack anymore, understandably. There was no way they could continue making that show after what happened between the two stars of it. Gina would have to see him on set all the time. I don't know if she was fully prepared to handle that, and I'm sure Bojack couldn't handle the emotional pressure day in and day out, and would have imploded anyway. Ultimately, because of his own self-pity and indulgence in his emotional distress, the show was slowly destroyed, and Flip is never heard from again. Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, just by them not being able to get Rami Malek back in the studio, but I do believe this was the high point of Flip's career in this universe. And Bojack destroyed any chance of this show that Flip cared so much about, even if it was terrible, succeeding. Just like he did to Kelsey and Herb. In conclusion, it's pretty much stated in the show that Bojack only really does these acting projects to fill his life and give it meaning, which his mother says that he will never get.
And now you can fill your life with projects, your books and your movies and your little girlfriends, but well, it won't make you whole. You're Bojack Horseman. There's no cure for that.
So, frankly, he doesn't care too much about the people helping him make that project come true. Even if they are good people that he genuinely did care about at one point, Bojack just instinctively casts them away to propel his own career and image forward, not thinking about anybody else who is really working on the projects with him or how it might affect them. And this is evidenced further by Princess Carolyn, how he disregards her, and Gina, but that, again, is a different pattern that I could address in an entirely separate video. But for his strictly professional relationships, there was a common theme of him demanding and needing respect from his boss, or whoever is running the show, and directly not giving it back after it was given to him. It just goes right to his ego, inflates it, and makes him a nightmare to work with. Even when he intends to do something that is meaningful and true, he is still looking to further his own career and not really thinking about how it could affect the people around him. And that's a really destructive pattern that I was glad to see Bojack deal with while he was in rehab. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us, especially on these Bojack videos. Love you, Bojack audience. You guys are so nice and positive. But if you want to support us further, you can go to patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's PosiTVty. There you get all these videos way before they reach YouTube, and I've built up a backlog, so it is weeks before they reach YouTube. You can get the full reactions, and you can vote on what you want to see on the channel, so it's a great way to support us, but also get more content for yourself. Plus, you can just join for free if you want previews of the video before they are actually released on YouTube, so you can get early previews even if you don't contribute monetarily. Either way, though, we appreciate any type of support you give us, and thank you so much for watching this video. Let us know what we should talk about next, whether it be Bojack or any other show you enjoy watching. Thank you so much. This is the cleanest outro I've ever done. So have a good day, ladies and gentlemen.